It is morning in Los Angeles and it's morning in America. I am your host, KC Phoenix, and this is my morning political thought. All right, for the housekeeping, thepurpleelephantshow.com is the main podcasting platform. As for the other social media, Purple Elephant Show, if I can get it out today, the Purple Elephant Show on Instagram, on Parler, so we can parlay, and facebook.com/the Purple Elephant Show. If you are on Twitter, at RealTPES. If you're watching this on YouTube, Dailymotion, or BitChute, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because that will let you know when I upload new videos. All right, as for other housekeeping side news stories, I wrote some of these down because a lot of things had happened. First thing is that, as some of you may already know, I don't call it an assassination attempt, because obviously all of the mail that goes to the White House is screened. Anybody with half a brain knows that. However, someone sent some ricin to the White House, addressed to President Trump. Of course they caught it. I'm sure you heard about it. It was this computer programmer from Quebec. She was, I believe, 55 years old. She already pleaded not guilty. She entered her plea of not guilty in court in Buffalo, New York. And she, if convicted, she could get up to 5 years, which I think is interesting because for sending something poisonous to the White House, even though like I said, I don't call it a direct assassination attempt, but just sending something poisonous to the White House, you would think that it would be more than 5 years for the maximum sentence. I'm thinking maybe 10, 15, 20. But if convicted, she could get 5 years in prison. Also, the DOJ is cracking down on darknet people. They just had 179 arrests for individuals that have been pushing opioids on the darknet. So that is some other side news. Also, the new thing now that they're talking about, it was on, I believe it was Andrea Mitchell's show, where she was interviewing a former person who worked with the Trump campaign about President Trump saying that it's disgusting shaking people's hands. So this is the new thing that they're going to bring out to try and separate President Trump from his voters. It's not going to work because all President Trump's voters know, true Trump voters already know, President Trump is a germaphobe. He doesn't like shaking hands. He even said it in several speeches. He said, I don't like shaking hands, but I'm in politics now, so I have to do it. So he's told us that he doesn't like shaking hands because he's a germaphobe. This isn't new. So, but this is the thing, the new thing the media decides to throw out, hoping to separate President Trump from his voters because they're thinking that this former staffer saying this will give the voters the impression that President Trump thinks that his voters are disgusting. Obviously, President Trump does not think his voters are disgusting. He just thinks shaking hands are disgusting because he's a germaphobe and he doesn't like to shake hands. All right. Other thing on here, I mentioned Africa not too long ago. Now Africa is being praised for their handling of the pandemic. As I said before, there's nothing to praise. The reason that Africa has not had that many issues is because they have access to HCQ. That is why they haven't had that many issues. HCQ can be bought over the counter in many countries in Africa due to the malaria issues in Africa. Because a lot of people have been taking HCQ in Africa, they haven't had to worry about the pandemic as much. Have they had infections? Yes, they've had over 1 million infections, but have they had as many deaths as compared to the other continents? No, because they have access to HCQ over the counter. This is common sense. Some scientists aren't getting it. Some people in the UN aren't getting it. But people with common sense get it. They have access to HCQ. So, yeah, Africa's being praised in the news now for their handling of the pandemic. I feel like I'm missing something else. I'm having to look down here. Oh, yeah. Bloomberg is in trouble now. Matt Gaetz was on Maria Bartiromo this morning. Also, he was on another show too. I want to say Fox and Friends, maybe, possibly. But long story short, what Mike Bloomberg and some other people are doing, they're paying off the fines and fees of felons. With certain felons, if they are current on their fines and fees, meaning they're paid off, they get to vote. So thousands upon thousands of felons are getting their fines and fees paid off by Bloomberg and company. And that will allow them to vote in the upcoming election. According to Florida law, you cannot buy a vote because obviously if someone pays off your fines, they're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They want something in return. And there is an internal communication within the Bloomberg camp that talks about why they're paying off the fines and fees of these felons. And Matt Gaetz is saying that is pretty much evidence. Matt Gaetz also mentioned under Florida law that something could be connected to RICO, which is a totally different, more all-encompassing thing. It'll be interesting how it plays out. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. For one, when it comes to people who are rich, they get sued all the time. They have lawyers on standby constantly to deal with whatever suits come along. Just like with President Trump, the reason that he was unfazed during the whole Russia thing, as much as he complains about it, he was still able to run the country and not get bogged down in it, because before politics, he would deal with lawsuits all the time for this or that in business, and also because he is rich. He's just like, let the attorneys duke it out. That is going to be the same thing with Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg will have a fleet of attorneys that whatever Florida decides to throw at him to try and get an indictment or to prosecute and so on and so forth and get a guilty verdict, if it goes to that level. Honestly, I don't even think it's going to go to that level. He might just end up paying a fine or something like that. But it's not going to be that huge of a deal. So I know that people are making noise in the media right now about it, at least in certain media outlets. But honestly, nothing much will come of it. If it does, I will be very surprised if something major comes of it. So that's just my thought on that. Okay, so we got all the housekeeping stuff out the way. As for my political thought, I think about Joe Biden, and I wish it didn't frustrate me. And it shouldn't frustrate me. It really, really shouldn't, but it does. And the reason it frustrates me is because anyone with ears, eyes, and a brain can see something is not right with Joe Biden. But the media continues to cover for him. Even when he barely takes questions from the media. They pretty much hide him. Some people call him Basement Biden because they say he's hiding in the basement. But even when he's not in the basement and he's out, once or twice a week, if that, attempting the campaign, when he does take questions, they're softball questions, or he ends the day early. And just all of the gaffes that happen, it's as if they take the voters for granted. And I think that's what frustrates me the most. It's almost when Nancy Pelosi had said, when she was talking about AOC, when she was kind of being shady, when she said, well, you can put a D on a glass of water and it'll win in that district. That throwaway line was basically saying, the people there are mindless. We don't have to put out great policies. We don't have to put out a great candidate. All we have to do is slap Democrat on them and they'll vote for them. I feel along those lines, that's why I'm sort of frustrated with Joe Biden. Because this isn't someone who is running for Congress. This is someone who's running for President of the United States of America. And as I said before, when I was thinking out loud, I honestly believe, I know they say the branches are equal, but I feel the executive branch has just a little bit more power, you could say, or a little bit more responsibility than all the other branches, than the legislative branch or the judicial branch. That is just my personal opinion. But according to the Constitution and history and everything else, executive, legislative, judicial, it's all equal. But personally, I feel that the executive branch is just a little bit above because it has to take on a little bit more stuff. I just don't like that out of all the people, out of the hundreds of millions of people in the United States, that you will slap the Democrat moniker on. This is the person that you chose. And yes, I know he's a puppet, but there are puppets with substance, puppets that are not faulty mentally, physically, that could have been chosen beforehand to be the Democrat nominee. And because it is Joe Biden, I feel not only is it an insult to Democrat voters, it's an insult to voters, period. Because, like I said before, President Trump will more than likely win. But on the off chance that he doesn't win, what if Joe Biden won? This is what they handed the American people, because the president isn't the president of just one party or one group of people. The president is the president of all Americans. And for someone who will have that responsibility to be the president of all Americans, it frustrates me that they would put this person up instead of saying to that person, stand down. During the primaries, hey Joe, stand down. We're going to go with someone else. And that he was able to get the nomination, which still boggles my mind. That's what frustrates me about Joe Biden, is that the people surrounding him, the people who put him up, don't care to engage with the American people, whether it's to engage with Democrats or whether it's to engage with independents or whether it's to engage with Republicans. They're not looking to engage with people because of the candidate that they put forth. It's almost when I discuss Congress and their work ethic and how they take so many recesses or vacations, when I was saying, let your work speak for you. And if you're not there, how can your work speak for you? Well, if you have a candidate who is not mentally or physically able to engage and to articulate the ideas of the platform that you are pushing, then that speaks volumes to how you feel about the voters, that you want to vote for that candidate. It's just saying, well, we're just going to throw this up. We know he can't engage. We know he can't really push the ideas of the platform and this and that. But we don't care. It's a Democrat. They're going to vote anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's what frustrates me. That's what really frustrates me about this whole Joe Biden situation, because he should not have won the nomination. He should not be the presidential candidate. And for other people to come out and support him, like Cindy McCain, she's supporting him, which that says a lot about her too. But for that to happen, it's frustrating. And I know I shouldn't be frustrated because obviously I'm supporting President Trump. But as an American, I'm frustrated that they think so little of America to put that type of candidate out, to allow that type of candidate to have the nomination versus someone who is in their right mind and physically able to do what needs to be done. Like I said, there are plenty of other puppets that could have been selected, but it's as if they picked the worst of the worst, most broken down, whatever, and said, well, we'll just slap Democrat on it and people will vote for it anyway. And that's sad. And that's one reason why Joe Biden frustrates me. And that's my morning political thought. Anyways, thank you for those who have been supporting, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, listening. ThePurpleElephantShow.com. The Purple Elephant Show on Parler, so we can parlay. On Instagram, Facebook.com/The Purple Elephant Show. On Twitter, @RealTPES. If you're watching again on BitChute, Dailymotion, or YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That way you will know when I upload a new video. Thank you again for all your support. Until next time, be blessed.